Welcome to Monday Momentum. This is our weekly 20-minute power session. Really, it's just designed to help you start your week with, again, clarity, courage, action, and to just get you fired up for the week. So today we're going to be tackling something that stops more dreams than actual failure would, and that is fear. When you think about overcoming fear and building confidence to start your venture, to start whatever it is that you want to tackle in life, fear can stop you. And so we want to talk about really how to overcome that fear, because let's be real, right? How many of you have hesitated to start something because of fear? Whether it's start even like a new hobby or a new passion or a new job or a new venture, and you have stopped because of fear. Put a like a thumbs up or a high five in the chat if you have ever been in that position. And I want you to understand something, right? Fear isn't necessarily the enemy. Inaction is. So not taking action is actually the bigger enemy. And because the truth is, successful people, they feel the fear too. They just don't let that fear control them. And that is the big difference. It's everyone feels fear. Fear is a normal part of everyone's life. But you have to feel that, and then you have to persevere and persist through that. So today I want us to talk about three things, right? First of all, I want us to expose some of the biggest fears that hold us back. I want us to talk about that. And then I also want to give you like just some strategy to move forward despite the fear. And then, of course, we always talk about mindset, but how can you rewire your mindset for confidence and for success? That's what I want us to talk about today. So by the end of this session, quick 20 minutes, you have the tools that you need in order to silence fear, step into courage, and then take action, because it is all about taking action. So let's do this. Before we break through fear, we really need to understand what happens and why it happens, right? There are three core fears that stop people from taking action every time. And the first one is fear of failure. What if I mess up? What if I don't do it right? What if I fall short? And this fear whispers, what if I try and fail? And what if people see me fail? What would they think, right? The truth is that every successful person has failed. Ask any successful person, they will tell you. And failure isn't the opposite of success, right? Failure is just the path to success. So you have to fail, like in entrepreneurship, we say fail fast. You fail, and you keep going. It's a path that's going to get you to success. And so instead of thinking about it like, I'm afraid because of fear of failure, why don't you reframe it and instead think of fearing failure and like see it as a learning opportunity? So don't go in and being afraid to fail. Instead, just use it as a learning opportunity. Like I said, just fail fast and then keep going. And so that you can figure out who you need to be, what you need to do, how you need to grow, how you need to succeed. And if I think about it, I remember watching an episode where Oprah talked about how she first got fired from her big TV job, right? And even think about Steve Jobs. He got fired from Apple as well. But look at them today, right? They didn't let failure define them. They just used it to grow. And that's really what I want you to think about when you think about fear of failure. The second one that we sometimes struggle with, fear of judgment, right? What will people think? The opinion of others. And this fear really tells you, like, what if people laugh? Or what if they don't support me? Or what if they talk about me? But the truth is that people are already talking. Would you rather them talk about how you never tried, or how you chased after your dreams relentlessly, how you chased after your dreams with passion? Wouldn't you, isn't that better for them to talk about? Because no matter what, they'll still talk, right? So I want you to reframe that fear and think about, the only opinions that matter are from those who are doing what you aspire to do. And those are the only people that I'll listen to their opinion. Like if you are 10 steps ahead of me, if you are crushing it, and you tell me something, I'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll listen. But if there's someone who hasn't even attempted one thing and is going to tell me how to do anything, my answer is I'm probably not listening to them. And I remember, and again, you take inspiration from people who have done it and who are successful. And so when I think about Jeff Bezos with Amazon, right? He started Amazon in his garage and people laughed at him. I know you've seen that famous picture floating around the internet, but look at him today, right? He's one of the richest men in the world. he didn't care. And so what is that thing that you're allowing, what is that thought or other people's thoughts that you're allowing to cloud your mind? Maybe it's time to let it go. And then the third fear is fear of uncertainty. What if I don't know enough, right? And this fear says, I need more information. I have to be 100% ready. I have to be 1000% ready before I do the thing. And the truth is that you will never feel 100% ready, right? Action is what builds clarity. You have to start messy and you have to refine later. Confidence, that confidence that you're waiting for before you start, that confidence actually comes from action, and it doesn't come from overthinking. And most entrepreneurs, right? They didn't figure it out before they started. They just learned by doing. They just said, I'm going to start this thing, I'm going to do it. So if you are pumped, if you're excited, I want you to type fearless in the chat. And if you're ready to stop waiting and really start moving, because it's time for us to take action. It's time for us to do the thing that we know that we're supposed to do. And so now let's think about, so we talked about the three types of fears, right, that are holding us back. What about if we kind of created a system to help us break through some of that fear? And we've exposed it. Now let's see how we can move forward despite it. That's right, fearless. So the first step I would tell you to think about is to reframe that fear, right? Change the meaning of the fear. So fear isn't a stop sign. You can think about it as like a small speed bump, or you can think about it as a green light for growth. So stop thinking about fear as this thing that is going to hold me back. Instead, if you think about, man, I'm afraid, right? Or I'm scared and I should stop. Why don't you say, I'm scared because I'm stepping into something big, something amazing, something that is full of growth, something that is good for me. So now every time that fear shows up this week, right? I want you to think about fear as a growth mechanism. That's how I want you to think about it. Think about it as a green light for growth. So when you come across something that you're afraid to do, or you're just afraid, think about, well, this fear, for me to have it, it means that I'm growing. I'm capable of figuring it out. I'm gonna do it. That's how I want you to start reframing that fear, right? And then the next thing, as a way to, like, a strategy, is to take micro steps. So action every time kills fear. So the as long as you start doing it, it can be something very small. It doesn't have to be a giant leap or this massive action that you take. It really could be something small, but what that happens is that it builds your confidence significantly, because every time we every time we win, right, these small wins, they bolster our courage, our confidence to keep doing more and keep doing more. So fear will grow with inaction, but it will shrink when you move and when you start taking action. And that's really, really important. So I'll give you an example, right? If you want to start a business, or you're thinking about doing something, or you're thinking about moving, or you're thinking about taking that dance class, whatever it is that you're thinking about doing, right? Don't wait. Just take one step. If you're thinking about starting a business, why don't you register your domain, or just like buy the domain? It's $20. Or post online and start becoming a thought leader, or send a message to a mentor and ask questions. That is you taking micro action. That is you doing something to, like, squash fear in the face. So I want to ask you, what is one micro step that you can take this week towards your goal? Just drop it in the chat. Whatever it is, that one thing that you're like, I'm going to do this thing today, toss it in the chat, or be bold enough to toss it in the chat. That might be you overcoming your fear. And so we talked about micro action, right? I want us to think about, there's so much power in our mindset and in our identity. And so why don't you shift that mindset to one that is positive? And so you then start saying, I am the kind of person who does that thing. I'm the kind of person who takes chances. I'm the kind of person who, whatever it is, I'm the kind of person who's going to start a business that is going to be successful. Because what I want to try to help you understand is that fear is sometimes tied to an identity. So if you see yourself as, like, lazy or afraid or incapable or unready, then, or you hesitate with every decision that you make, right? That's how you're going to act. So it's fear is tied to that identity. So then stop identifying yourself like that. Instead, flip the script, right? And start telling yourself, I'm the kind of person who takes action despite fear. I'm the kind of person who figures things out. I'm the kind of person who leads my team. I'm the kind of person who, like, dances salsa, whatever it is that you are, whatever it is that you're afraid of. I'm the kind of person who will become a businesswoman who like who leads significantly and like really impacts people. That could be your new identity statement, right? I'm the kind of person who embraces challenges. That's another identity statement. But you are changing and you're killing that old mindset, that old belief that is tied to fear. You're just letting go of that and you're taking on this new identity, which is I'm the kind of person who does XYZ. And that's what I want you to think about, right? What can you say? Who can you become? Who can you embrace? What identity can you embrace today? And so, think about it. Write it down, write it in the chat, write it in your journal. I am the kind of person who does this. What could that look like for you? And imagine if you can think about it, if you can write it out, then you can become that person who does that. So this is what I want you to think about, right? And I want you to put this into action. We're talking about action. We're talking about taking chances. We're talking about stepping out. What does that look like today? So I have a challenge for you as always, because if you don't act, if you don't take action, if you don't do, you will always be stuck in the I wish I could have, I need to, I should, I want to. So think about what this looks like if you took action today, right? So step one, or something to think about, challenge one. Every time you feel the fear, right, I want you to say, this means that I'm growing. This means that I'm capable. And I can tell you that it's not easy. So I'll give you an example, right? I remember when I did my first podcast, and I still today, that podcast bombed, and I don't know where it is. It's somewhere on the internet, but it didn't stop me, right? And the next one, I was really afraid because I was like, I know I have something to say. I know I have a message, but will I mess it up again, right? And so, but I felt the fear and I did it anyways because I knew that like it was part of my calling. And so I did not want to rely on that old identity or that old belief that I couldn't do it. I knew that like that fear that happened to me the second time I was doing that podcast was that it meant that I'm growing. It meant that I'm capable of doing whatever it is. And so, and I also want you to take one micro action this week towards your goal. What is one big goal that you've been putting off, or that you've been procrastinating, right? Take one micro action today, and it could be small. It could be, if you want to write a book, it could be just writing 3 sentences today. But take that micro action so that you know that you are the kind of person who does that thing. You're the kind of person who does not let fear hold you back from living your best life, from following your dreams, from impacting, from teaching, whatever that thing is. And so that is my second task for you. And the third one is I just want you to figure out your identity statement and then say it. I'm the kind of woman that takes action. That's what I'm saying this week. I'm the kind of woman that takes action. So every time I'm afraid, and I'm still afraid today, every time I'm afraid, I'm going to tell myself, and Kim, you are the type of woman that takes action. And the constant reminder, let me tell you this, if you don't believe it, just keep saying it. And eventually, something will happen and you'll start believing that, like, yes, I am the kind of woman who takes action. And then you'll reflect that in everything that you do and how you show up. So I want to leave you with a final thought, right? This is it. Fear is normal. So don't feel bad if, don't think I'm the only person who's afraid, or I'm the only person who is pausing before I take this action. Fear is normal. But letting fear stop you, that is a choice. And that's a choice that I'm hoping that from today that you don't make. Because the difference between successful people and stuck people is very simple. Is that successful people, they feel the fear and they do it anyways. It's that simple. They feel the fear and they do it anyways. Before I tell you what we're talking about next week, I read this book, and it's called, funny enough, it's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways. And it's just giving you the strategy, put it back. It's just giving you the strategy that you need in order to really combat fear. Because I think it's very important when you start having big dreams and you start chasing and you really want to make impact and you want to make change, you're going to be afraid because you're stepping into circles of growth. You're stepping into new areas in your life that you might not necessarily know how to handle. And your instinct might be to be afraid and shrink back. But I want to encourage you, I want to challenge you that whatever that situation is, whatever that circumstance is, I want you to feel the fear and then do it anyways. And you will see the level of growth, you see the amount of growth and the beauty that comes from that. So I want to say thank you for joining me on another Monday Momentum. Next week, we will be talking about starting a new habit and how to build habits that stick. If you've ever struggled with staying consistent, then you should be here next Monday because I have tips, tricks, all the good things for you. So drop your biggest takeaway in the chat. And if you felt the fear this week and you took action, toss it in the community, tag me. I would love to hear I'd love to hear support and encourage you on how you felt the fear and then you just like punched it in the face. So thank you so much for spending the afternoon with me, your lunch break on a Monday. I hope that this brought you clarity. I hope that you are able to take action, and I hope that you're more courageous this week and you really tackle your week. So thank you once again, and I'm going to jump into the chat. So I hear I'm the kind of person who controls the rooms when I step in. That is fantastic. I'm the kind of person who's optimistic and sees light in a dark tunnel. That's right. And that will come in so handy. My micro action for this week will be to spend the first 30 minutes of my day to craft my goals for the day. No phone time. Love it. And this is adding a little bit of last week as well. And, figuring out your power hour. I love that. Fear is a springboard for me. That is 100% correct. And yes, so thank you, everyone. I'm so glad. I hope that you got something out of this, and I will see you next week. If you have any questions, toss it in the chat. I'm going to hang out a little bit longer.